Tickets are on sale now at bostonwrestling.com for our 20th anniversary Back to the 80s WrestleFest, Saturday, November the 13th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Mass.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Inside His Stern But Fair, a pay-per-view weekend version of Wrestling Inside His Stern But Fair. I'm Dan Marty, along with your host with the most, the one, the only, the former, the first, Boston Wrestling MWF heavyweight champion, Mr. Tiger Mulligan, now one of the guiding lights on the board of directors, as we are now less than 10 weeks away from the big one, as we celebrate 20 years of this fine organization at Memorial Hall, Melrose, Massachusetts. Saturday night, November the 13th, we go back to the 80s with a plethora of superstars from the 1980s, along with some white, hot action featuring the superstars of today and tomorrow, along with kickstarting our efforts to our annual Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. Someone is going to be walking off with a mega jackpot. So I tell you, it is going to be a night for the ages. John Cena Sr. laid down the challenge to all of the fans. If we sell out of the VIPs, within a reasonable amount of time, before the event itself, he's going to go big with that final eighth guest. But with that, I pass the baton to Tiger Mulligan. I'm a very tired Dan Marty after a week of John Cena Sr. and Just Incredible and Marty Jannetty and Marty Jannetty Travel and Marty Jannetty everything. I need a pillow.
Yeah, he needs something because this is take two, people. He forgot to hit the record button. I'm calling him out because it's the second time he's done it. But we're going to give him a little bit of slack.
I was hoping you were going to say something about Marty and not me, but that's all right.
Well, hey, listen, I'm sure Marty was. I'm hoping. I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't around to see the state of Marty Jannetty this week, but I'm hoping it was a lot better than the last time he was up there.
Better than the last day in June by far.
All right, great. So, things, I guess, are looking up and up. Oh, I mean, I think with that guy, there's always room for improvement.
From your lips to God's ears. But you know what? He's a good soul, a good man. We had some interesting, unique content, but there are times it's just I guess the biggest challenge for me is, other than what always seems into some kind of a travel obstacle, is just trying to keep him focused. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe he needs to get a little Ritalin or something.
His GPS, it is, like I said, it's like trying to go from Maine to Boston, but he winds up in Seattle first. So, then again,
hey, listen, as long as it was a good interview and like you said, you got some good content. I think what I'm looking forward to the most is your the new show with the Extreme guys. Just Incredible. He's a good dude. I heard that went very well, so I'm looking forward to that.
And that premieres, again, not to get a cheap plug in, but you talk about out with the old, in with the new. All that garbage is going to stay up in Auburn, Maine. And we have a new coat of paint on Tuesday nights, much like NXT's new logo. After NXT on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m., Tiger Mulligan was correct. It's Wrestling Inside His Extreme, where we look back at the superstars, the places, the people, the ambiance, the events that were Extreme Championship Wrestling. We kick off the series with the late New Jack. We have 6 great episodes with him. And then, as we like to say, pass the baton to former ECW heavyweight champion, Just Incredible. So a lot of cool things happening here in Boston Wrestling. It's a new season. It is a new decade, officially on the 28th, as we begin our 3rd decade of this crazy adventure known as Boston Wrestling in the MWF, but that's certainly something to look forward to on Tuesday nights, especially those that you talk about trying to keep someone focused and directed could be very difficult with Sir Atlas, where he'd like to go off on his political rants on a wrestling talk show that a lot of people didn't want to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think even a lot of people want to listen to him in general, but especially if he goes, especially if he goes off in his tangents. But that's neither here nor there. Out with the old, in with the new, like you said, and it's crazy because I'm just glad you're bringing something that the fans want. There's a cult following for that old ECW.
Yeah.
It'll never get old. I think it's always going to be that people are going to have that hankering for it. So it's glad to see that we have it going on, and that's going to get going pretty soon.
And I like the fact that it's going to be a variety of personalities. It's not going to be the same host every week. You may have clusters from here and there of several weeks at a time, but there's going to be no permanent co-host, which I think will make it more fun. And then I'm sure as people get talking and more stories and more memories get shared, other guys will want to come back even more to rebut those stories that are shared on the show. So I think it could be a heck of a lot of fun. We'll have to wait and see. It's up to you guys. We already have, I think, episodes taped all the way through mid-November for your enjoyment. So
that's great. That's awesome. So let's get a good following for it. Some people watching it, and hopefully we can continue to go through with it through the end of the year and into the beginning of next year.
Well, that's how I look at it. I think about a quarter of the year is a pretty good sample size to see what the fans are going to think of it either way.
All right, excellent. You know what? Hey, I'm looking forward to it. I wasn't a huge fan of the ECW product, but I am a huge fan of people telling stories and just the way that they think about the business and how certain things went down. So I will definitely be tuning in, as will hopefully the fans of this fine product.
And before I officially pass the baton to you, I got to get one more cheap plug in. And this is another one that's driving me nuts because there's so much that has not been finalized for it yet. And I'm a Virgo, so I'm big on, I like things booked and mapped out ahead of time. But in less than a week's time, we're going to be in Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. We have one of the finest suites in the city booked. We're going to be taping a series of Wrestling Insider programs. We're going to be throwing out a few live episodes at you and those cyber autograph signings in early. And I'm a big fan on early, too. I like to get things done, unlike last Christmas when I was ready to hang myself in the chimney that Santa was going to use for the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. There's going to be a lot of unique guests out there for the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion, number 55. After a year and a half, much like our Back to the 80s event, it is finally happening. I've spoken to you talk about a wide variety of guests, of superstars that not only live in the Las Vegas area, but those that are going to be attending the ceremony. We could come back with some grade A quality footage, some great autograph memorabilia for the toy drive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot to look forward to before we even hit the 20th anniversary later in September.
I mean, hey, I'm looking forward to everything. I wish I could be out there in Vegas with you, but it's not going to happen this year. Hopefully next year I'll be accompanying you out there, because like I said in the past, I've never been to one of those and I've always wanted to. So it's a bucket list thing for me.
Well, maybe you'll surprise me and show up anyway. Who knows?
Yeah,
we'll have to see how the gimmick table does this afternoon, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with taking a booking here and there. I don't have to wrestle a match. I'm doing some commentary tonight, so it's going to be a good time.
All right, well, with all that said, as I tried to get a cheap sip of water in, I was hoping you were going to say more than a sentence or two. I pass the baton to you on the latest, the greatest in the world of the king of sports, professional wrestling on this AEW All Out Sunday.
Yeah, I know. Last week we said we would, kind of go over the All Out card, but before we do that, I think we need to address the fact that, unfortunately, we had another passing this week in the world of professional wrestling, as Daffney is no longer with us. And, my condolences to her family. I have never met her, but I've just always heard good things about her. It's a tragic thing. And, I know that there's been times on this episode, this podcast, that I've said that, mental health isn't, I don't really truly believe in it and things like that. But, there's always something there. There's always underlying reasons. And if there's anything that you could take away from what I'm saying now is, if you need to talk to somebody, if you need help, please reach out to someone that you trust and that is willing to give you that help. Get the help that you need, so that way we don't have tragedies like this happen again.
Well, as I always like to note, outside of his work in the world of Boston Wrestling MWF, Dr. David Reese is an acclaimed psychiatrist that works with individuals and Major League sports teams out on the left coast. He is certainly accessible to anyone in the industry at no cost. If you have any kind of questions, he is a man that can lead you in the right direction, whether you're in the business, out of the business. He's genuine individual that truly cares. But you know what? I think I misunderstood what had happened. I thought she had only made threats of self-harm. And then when we were actually in the middle of the live episode, we realized what had happened, and Marty kind of had a little bit of a breakdown and had to, compose himself off air. And then I think a man you probably remember quite well, Quincy Rustani, our Goodwill ambassador that likes to sing, not realizing what was going on, walked on the set and started to scream. We're doing it for the kids. So it was just one of those moments that that could only happen here. But again, sad to hear that in any way, shape, or form that someone at 46 said, you know what, the world is a better place without me. And hopefully her brain does make it to Chris Nowinski at the Concussion Legacy Institute here in Boston, and they can study. I know she was involved in some brutal, hardcore action when she was with TNA Impact, and there was a lawsuit involved with that over the categorization of independent contractor and if they'd pay her medical bills, and it was kind of one of those closed agreements where no one really knows what went down in the end, but hopefully she was taken care of to at least get the physical part of it done. But you know what? I don't know if you can put a price on a brain where so little is known about brain injuries still at this point. It's still kind of a new phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that, even just, I don't know exactly when that movie Concussion came out, but I mean, just the fact that we've had, everybody's got a brain, right? And we've never really just taken the time to really truly study it. And nobody knew, like, geez, when I first started wrestling in 98, you were called, very derogatory names if you didn't take a chair shot to the head without protecting yourself by putting your hand up. And to see where the business has gone in just a short amount of time, it's good, but it's not great. We need to continue to protect ourselves and really get people out there to study whatever it is they need to study to figure out how we can even protect ourselves a little bit further.
I think the next wave of deaths that we're going to see in the business, especially where WWE has gone above and beyond to try and protect a lot of the new recruits, the way they're trained at the Performance Center and, some of the in-ring trauma that they take, the way it's taken, I think it's going to be the guys from the era who weren't so safe with their heads. Yeah. And I think you're either going to see A, suicides from mass depression, or B, I think you're just going to see a lot of people, I think, unfortunately, like we saw with Paul Orndorff at the end, they're not going to know what universe they're in.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Be a lot of maybe dementia or some form of CTE, depression, and the like. So hopefully I'm wrong, knock on wood, but I don't think I am.
No, and I agree with you. It's, when I look at it as far as depression goes, I don't know if that's, again, I've never studied this. I don't know what's going on, but, I don't think in my eyes that the depression part of it comes from, headshots and things like that, or bad, bumps or whatever the case might be. I think a lot of the depression comes from being in the limelight, so to speak, and then, being thrusted out of that limelight and not knowing what to do with yourself. I've always been an advocate for having that backup plan. And knowing, this is a type of business where, it's not like you can just put on a pair of boots and get $1 million contract and be a superstar overnight and get thousands and millions of dollars and have that for the rest of your life. It's very short career. You'd be lucky if you can stay on top for 10 years, if that. And, you always got to have that backup plan to where you're keeping your mindset at in a good place. If you need a creative outlook, do something with that, whether that be, say, a podcast or, YouTube videos or acting or something, have that backup plan so that way you don't get into this space of, no turning back and no retreating, and you end up doing something harmful to yourself, which is not what anybody wants to see down the line. So, well,
I have to agree with that. I think a lot of it, depression and those types of feelings can come from losing the limelight. But I also think that when the brain is injured, it'll make you do a lot of crazy things. From that car accident I was in with the Sheik and your old friend Commissioner Von Johnson, when my head got bashed in. You know, I had post-concussion syndrome for the better part of a year, and you know, it would make you think and act in just very, very odd ways that would take you out of the norm. And when you look at wrestlers who were, in some cases, in some eras, out 300 days a year, now with WWE, it's much more modified, where even if you're able to work a healthy full year schedule, you're looking at about maybe 150 dates a year. That's still a lot of action going on that head that's going to add up over times.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's, like I said, protect yourself. And I think the biggest, word of advice I could give anybody is learn how to work. You don't need to be doing crazy stuff in every single match just for the sake of doing it. Have it make sense, have some meaning behind it. And just, like I said, protect yourself and protect other people. You're putting your body out on the line for somebody else to protect you too. Make sure that, you're protecting the other person and or people in the ring with you. And that includes people like referees, announcers, and whomever, anybody that's there within the action. Just make sure that you're doing the right thing. You're trained properly. You know how to do it, and you know how to do it safe, and properly.
Have there been a lot of announcers that have suffered brain injuries? I wasn't aware of them.
Well, it's not even so much, brain injuries, but I mean, the thing that just immediately pops in my head is, like that. I think it was a Clash of the Champions where, Brian Pillman was doing his loose cannon thing and he grabbed Bobby Heenan, out of nowhere.
Oh, by the neck, yeah.
Yeah. And, Bobby Heenan had some choice words on live TV and, he didn't know what was going on. It wasn't, quote unquote, part of the script or whatnot. And, at that point in time, I think Heenan still hadn't had his neck surgery. No. And, he was scared for his own life. So it's like, just little things like that could just, or I think back to the whole Daniel Bryan incident with, who was it? Justin Roberts when, back when NXT was forming and Justin Roberts got choked out by his tie. Now I'm sure it was safe and it looked grimacing, but I'm sure Daniel Bryan was safe with it. But at the same time, you just never know. And it just didn't look good. And you just don't want that to go out to the kids that just don't know any better. And they're looking at something like that and then they're going to go try and do it. And then God forbid something bad happens. So just be safe. That's all I'm asking you to do.
Well, if he's asking you, it's a serious thing. Let me tell you, he doesn't ask for much in life. But no, I think we're going to see more and more of it. But
yeah, I agree. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I'm glad that there's guys like Chris Nowinski out there who are trying to figure all this out. And I don't really know if there's a quote unquote cure for anything. Maybe just protecting yourself, like I said.
No, and I think
others.
I think from, I don't know if you're even familiar with this, but with David Reese, I attend the Concussion Legacy Awards dinner every year, and Triple H and usually some WWE folk and some NFL folk are there. And, it's interesting to hear their stories about their battles with the concussions and so on. And I think it's something that's preemptive more than there's anything you're going to be able to do after the fact. And I think that's the troublesome thing. Once it's done,
it's done.
You don't get a second brain.
Yeah, it's not like you can just put a cast on your head and then it'll heal. It's not a broken arm or a broken leg where you could heal or have a little surgery on a knee, repair it, and come back. It's not the way that it works. Yeah. So, I can't stress it enough. Protect yourself, protect others, know what you're doing in there. Don't just get in there for the sake of getting in there, and don't just do something stupid for the sake of doing something stupid, for the sake of a rating, for the sake of a pop of the crowd. Put some meaning behind it and just be safe.
And hopefully there are more, and I even hate the term wrestling schools that are paying attention to these types of things that allow, in many cases, teenagers to walk into their facilities and say, I'm going to become a pro wrestler. And, who knows what kind of guidance or expertise they may have on head injuries or knowledge they may have on head injuries. You're talking about a brain that isn't even fully formed when you're talking about teenage kids. That's why there's a great debate sometimes even about, Pop Warner and high school football. Yeah. Never mind pro wrestling.
Well, like I said, it's hopefully things are starting to trickle down. I mean, obviously you see in the NFL over the past few years with the new rules and regulations that they have in the NFL and the different equipment things that they have now. I'm hoping that type of stuff is trickling down to the Pop Warner leagues. And, they're not, again, it's tough because the people that are coaching probably have a mindset of that old school mindset of, get out there, do what you got to do. You're not injured, you're only hurt type of mentality. And I hope that we're getting out of that realm and into the realm of, if you're injured, take a seat, let's put somebody else in, get you better, and, go from there.
Well, I know little Marty suffered a concussion playing freshman football where he goes to high school, and once he had that, he was done for the year. They wouldn't let him back out, so I think he wasn't pleased, but probably long-term for the best.
Yeah, and again, pro sports, don't get me wrong, everybody, not everybody, but if you grow up playing sports, I'm sure you have a dream of stepping out onto a football field or into a wrestling ring or onto a baseball diamond, whatever the case might be, for the pro level. But I mean, it's not for everybody. You need to be a certain somebody to be able to do those things. And again, just make sure that you're taking care of your studies and going to school and doing the right things. So that way, if by chance you don't make it to one of those pro leagues, you do have something to fall back on and you're healthy in the same time.
Well, there you go, folks. You heard it from a former Boston Wrestling MWF champion himself. And again, with training, it's one of those catch-22s. It isn't cheap or inexpensive to put together facilities like that, to even give people the opportunity to chase their dream. But at the same time, you'd like to think that there could be some kind of rules and regulations to go around it as far as equal treatment, equal education across the board. There's no board of directors or governors for wrestling schools. So, it can vary from place to place how someone could treat an injury like that. But, again, I guess that's a different story for a different time. But certainly something worth thinking about, no pun intended.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's, there's always something that you can do to, protect yourself. So if you're a small independent company that has a school, with a few students, do the right thing by your students. Get crash pads, I'm not sure what they call, but I'm sure like those little helmets that you can wear for when you're taking bumps, and things like that. Make sure that you have knee pads and elbow pads accessible for your students. And don't sit there and make them for 3 hours take 25 back bumps in a row. Like it's just not, that's the way we used to do it, but it's not the way it needs to be done. There's other ways you can do things, and I think the old school mentality of the way that we used to train needs to kind of go out the window. Maybe adopt a few things from it, but we need to live and learn. And again, it just goes down to protecting yourself and protecting others.
And I think a lot of the would-be professional wrestlers in the world out there, they should be realistic. This is not something that is meant for everyone. There are a lot of things, if you really have your heart desired on being involved in the world of professional wrestling, it doesn't necessarily mean as an in-ring competitor. I mean, not everybody's body is meant to be a professional wrestler. I know I'd love to be the first baseman for the Boston Red Sox, but that doesn't mean it was something that was meant to be with what I was presented as physically.
Yeah. No, I agree. And hey, listen, you could still, if you want to be a wrestler, by all means, go and to a school, learn and become a wrestler, have a match. But don't put yourself in a situation to where, if you don't make it to, say, AEW or WWE, that you're going to do everything in your power to do it. And maybe I'll be taking that out of context. Like, if it's your dream, if you really truly feel you can do it, great. But trust me, man, this stuff hurts. It's not ballet, and it might be scripted, it might be choreographed at some points in time. But it takes a lot of bumps for you to, quote unquote, not feel it, if that makes any sense, to build up a bump callus. If I was to go into a ring right now and take a bump, I'm telling you, I would feel it tomorrow. And after every match that these guys and girls have, I'm telling you that they're feeling it the next day, if not that night. So just be careful. Know your limitations. Don't overextend yourself, and just be smart about it.
It's funny. Before we even realized this was going to be a topic of conversation this week, not even on this show, but across the industry, when Just Incredible was here last Sunday, we were talking about the abuse that the body goes through, and I said, well, what would you compare it to, maybe sports-wise? And he basically boiled it down to professional football. I mean, that's what the body goes through when they're in that squared circle. for whatever reason, there's a misconception that it's a big bouncy house, but as you can tell, as someone that has won championship gold, it is not a big bouncy house. There is no trampoline hidden under the ring.
No, and I'm glad that the rings now are a bit more flexy and have a better bump to it. But, geez, when I was coming up, I was in wrestling rings that were the old style, they're actual old WWF rings where they had the one spring in the middle that didn't do anything. It was structured to hold these ginormous guys like Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan. And you get somebody in there that was myself, and at the time, 200, 210 pounds, taking bumps off the top rope and things like that. I mean, I'm telling you, it was like landing on concrete. It
was
hurt.
No give, yeah.
Yeah, it hurt. So, it's you don't know what you're getting into until you do it, and that's the honest truth. Would I give up anything that I've done? No. Would I do it all over again? Yes. But at the same time, I think seeing how I see things now, I think I might do things just a little bit different, just to protect myself. It's a lot harder these days to get out of bed, and I didn't nearly compete at the level that a lot of other guys competed at. So I can just imagine what some of these guys are going through.
Well, maybe they add things on a lighter note because, we don't like to be too serious. We like to have fun when on these programs. But, do you think the cleaning women have ever looked at their mops quite like that?
I'm sure they have.
There were better equipment they could use when they're in the proverbial squared circle of cleaning different buildings.
Well, maybe we need to get them a Swiffer instead of just a regular mop head.
Well, or maybe even, certain ingredients in the cleaning supplies.
Yeah, but that stuff gets a lot more expensive, and it's. I guess you got to spend money to make money, right?
You know what? If I was actually going to be here next Sunday and on in Las Vegas, and they actually spoke English, perhaps I would invite them to be on the show to discuss the different cleaning techniques they use. But that's a different story for a different time. As cleaning women are only here every other Sunday, so this is their off Sunday. So a little less humor for me to observe as we put together this fine program.
And it's too bad because we don't have any singing this week. So I might have to get you to chime up on something else to get you singing because you promised at least one singing every week.
Well, I tell you this, I wish I could get to the point where we could have a little camera observing outside the studio so everybody at home could see the people watching that I do during Stern but Fair, because sometimes I'm almost eager to belt out a thought or two, and then I say, you know what, maybe it's a good thing that the people can't see. But anyway,
hey, well, you know what, if we ever decide to do a revamp and actually do like a Zoom or whatever it is and get us together, that would be the perfect opportunity to do something like
maybe
that.
Kind of like the Today Show, you know what I mean? I know they have this
something like that.
They have the shot at Times Square. Now this man almost got killed jogging with all these old people walking down the street with their walkers, ran into Main Street in Melrose like all of you are going to be running down Main Street in Melrose Saturday night, November the 13th, to join us as Boston Wrestling MWF goes back to the 80s. 2 decades of this fine organization, Saturday night, November the 13th. VIP packages and tickets are on sale now. You are going to have not just the time of your life at some wrestling show. It is going to be an event 20 years in the making. You'll be able to get the autographs, the pose photos, the VIP Legends Q&A experience, only open to VIPs, and that all happens before a night of white-hot in-ring action. Again, you can get your all-inclusive VIP packages and tickets now at bostonwrestling.com. Right now, perfect time for the break. We'll be back on the flip side. Stand by. Wrestling fans, all-inclusive VIP packages and tickets are on sale now for Boston Wrestling MWF's 20th anniversary Back to the 80s WrestleFest. Saturday night, November the 13th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts, where you'll meet the icons up close and personal, including Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Jake the Snake Roberts, Axe and Smash Demolition, Marty, Jannetty, and more 80s Hall of Famers to be announced SummerSlam weekend. Plus, the superstars and legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow will blow the roof off of Memorial Hall with a hot night of in-ring action at this interactive wrestling event in Fanfest you'll never forget. Make your plans to be there live. Get your tickets at bostonwrestling.com now.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
Here's your chance to own a piece of history from the 2020 WWE Draft. On the second night, October the 12th, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and Alexa Bliss unleashed hell on Andrade and Zelina Vega. This limited edition 11x14 collector's poster is number 26 of only 50 made, personally signed by both The Fiend and Alexa Bliss, direct from friends at WWE. Comes with certificate of authenticity hologram on the poster itself, suitable for framing. You'll also receive a bonus autographed mystery photo and an on-air shout-out as our thanks to you. Get this ultra-rare autographed Fiend and Alexa Bliss poster now. Wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area, we want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889. Tiger, I know if you were not part of the event itself, you probably would have purchased about 10 tickets by now. Is that safe to say?
Maybe even 20, 25 tickets.
Really? That many people? You'd need to rent a bus from New Jersey.
Yeah, why not? A party bus all the way up there, a party bus all the way back. Maybe we'd stick Marty Jannetty in there with us, and we'd have a good old time.
Take him. We'll fly him home from New Jersey.
Might be a cheaper flight.
All right. Well, the news of the night is, we always like to say, we've moved Wrestling Insider Stern but Fair to 10 p.m. on non-pay-per-view weekends. Well, this happens to be a non-pay-per-view weekend, so the fans will get to hear us a little early. They're going to get their AEW All-Out preview coming from one of the great professional wrestling cities in this globe, Chi-Town, Chicago, Illinois. I know Boston Wrestling MWF Vice President Oscar was with them all weekend at the Fanfest, trying to hustle some stills, 8x10s, if you will. I don't know how successful he was. We'll have to find out tomorrow night after Raw on Wrestling Insider's Monday Night Mission. But what do we got cooking in Chicago tonight, Mr. Tiger?
Well, I think the thing that I'm disappointed about is that Andrade Pac match is no longer on the show. Do you have any insight on that one?
Yes, I do. It's not happening.
Well, I know that, but I mean, I was actually really looking forward to that match. I thought that was going to be like one of those. I think both guys are very, very talented. Andrade is, to me, very underrated. He's a superstar. I just think that these guys are going to put on a 5-star, 10-star, whatever star caliber match. I think it would have actually had the chance to steal the show as well. So I'm a little disappointed that that's not on there.
I don't know about that, but because I don't think they'd be given the time that some of the more marquee matches would have received, but I think it would have been an excellent match, one that I would have enjoyed. I have never made a secret of it that I think that Andrade should be one of the main event heels on Raw and SmackDown right now, but WWE's loss has certainly been AEW's gain, and hopefully whether it's injury, illness, ailment, whether it's just a timing thing where they ran out of time on the show itself, that the match happens soon.
Well, I did read that they're actually going to be putting it on, I don't know if it's this Wednesday or the following, or this coming Friday, on either Dynamite or Rampage. I know it's coming up. They've already rescheduled the match. So I don't know if it's an injury thing. And it's definitely not a time thing because they moved the women's casino battle royal to the main show instead of the pre-show. So I know you're looking forward to that one.
Well, you got to get up and use the restroom at some point, I guess. But before,
not if it's the first match on the show.
Exactly. I'll have to drink a lot before the show begins.
That's awesome.
Let me throw this one at you before we even get into the show. One thing that drives me nuts about AEW, and like I've said, realistically, it's a company that's not even 2 years old as far as a weekly TV presentation goes. It's still a relatively young company altogether as it is. And the successes that they've had have been great. Has everything been done perfectly? No. But you got to remember, it's still a relatively new, young company. But one thing that drives me absolutely crazy about them is how they almost overpush everything to the point of confusion, where they're just constantly throwing matches at you, and you're not sure, wait a minute, is this the pay-per-view? Is this next week's Dynamite? Is this Rampage on Friday on TNT? Is this one of the internet shows? They have so many different things going on right now. I almost think it leads to the point of confusion.
I don't disagree. I do, in a sense, like that they're kind of letting us know what's coming up, so that means that they're doing their booking, at least in advance and not the day of or an hour before the show like some of these WWE shows have been lately. But at the same time, I see where you're coming from, where you might be tuning in to see something and you don't realize that it's not actually that day. It's in a week from now or something like that. So I get what you're saying.
It's almost like a pinball game where it's just, Rampage, Dynamite, pay-per-view, Impact, Rampage, Dynamite, Doc, Elevation, Impact, Pay-per-view, Dynamite, Rampage, Doc. I actually kind of have a cool solution for it. But, when Mr. Khan and I have every chance to chew the fat, maybe I'll share my idea with him.
Yeah, you don't want to give that one out for free.
No.
Definitely not.
No.
But as we digress and get back to the pay-per-view itself, the women's casino battle royal is up first with, I'm not even really too sure who's in it, but I'd be surprised if they didn't have one or two.
Oh.
No, I think that they'll maybe have one or two surprises there for us. Maybe somebody we don't expect, maybe somebody new coming in, or just a one-off type of thing. But I think I got to give it to Jade Cargill on this one. I think she's going to take the Duke on the women's battle royal.
Now, is she the one that was involved in the Shaq match?
Yes.
Okay, the smaller of the two. Or
smaller?
Or is she the big
one? No, she's
one?
Jacked. No, she's jacked.
Okay, so she's the one that was going to go at it with Brandy Rhodes before Brandy revealed she was with
she got
child.
knocked up.
Well, the other one was Red Velvet. Okay.
Yes, Red Velvet.
I got them confused. See, now this would be some perfect people watching, but no, I have about as much interest in the women's casino battle royale as I do. Oh boy, let's see. The length of the flight going to Las Vegas. When the plane is just taken off, and I know I have 6 hours ahead.
Yeah,
and with my poor back, I have little interest in the length of that flight, and I have a little interest in the women's casino battle royale for the female wrestling fans out there. I hope they have the time of their lives with it. I will not be one of them.
I don't disagree. I am interested to see if they do have any surprises for us or their types of surprises, but I don't want to say I care less, but
maybe since they're off this week, maybe the cleaning women could be two of the surprise entrants.
Okay, I almost just spit out my monster drink as you said that. So
they could do like the Road Warrior Hawk double clothesline with one of their mops in elimination.
Oh my
God. It'd be like the Titanic. 5 or 6 women could take a bump over the top rope at the same time for the cleaning women.
Oh my God. And I don't even know what to say about it, but I would pay to see that.
I think it'd be a memorable spot. And I bet you next week, I want to see if one of the two of us even remember this. Was there anything on the show more memorable than what I would have come up with than the cleaning women doing the double clothesline Road Warrior Hawk spot with the mop?
So I will, I'm writing it down right now, and I will definitely circle back on that one next week.
All right, well, back to reality.
So how about Paul White against QT Marshall?
Please.
Yep,
I mean,
I agree.
I think it's great that they, unlike WWE, that they've had the patience and the pacing to hold off on just throwing Paul White, Big Show out into the ring. But, I mean, again, you talk about a match with such little interest in it.
Yeah.
Is there anything about QT Marshall that says, geez, I really want to watch this, or anything that he does?
Well, you know what? He's definitely an asset behind the scenes for AEW, but I think that's where he needs to stay, is behind the scenes. There's a reason why WWE passed up on him. He just doesn't have, to me, doesn't have the look. He doesn't have the charisma. He might have great skill set and be a good coach, but not all good coaches are good players.
I'll say this, I think he's a very solid hand, but
Sure.
as far as the things that are important to make people want to tune in and watch, especially on a pay-per-view, there's no athletic appeal. There's no physical appeal. There's no verbal appeal. So other than the fact that he's, friendly with the Rhodeses, I don't see the need for it. I don't see, I haven't heard of fans saying, oh boy, I can't wait for that Paul White QT match. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, you need I don't know if this is going to be the actual lineup for the card itself is what I'm looking at, but you definitely need a popcorn match in there somewhere. That could be it. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But again, I'm not. I'm a fan of Paul White and what he could do, and I'm glad, like you said, that they've kind of taken their time with it. But why not use Paul White to get somebody over that you're going to push to the moon as far as that type of stuff goes? I don't think they're going to be pushing QT Marshall to the moon anytime soon.
Well, on the flip side, baby, Paul White goes over and, they have someone bigger on the horizon that they want him to put over. So maybe QT is just a stepping stone in the AEW career of Paul White.
I mean, anything's possible. I don't know. Maybe I could see it down the road that he goes over tonight, and then maybe a little showdown with Paul White and Miro, and really get Miro over strong as that big stinky heel type of guy.
Well, talk about reliving 2014. I think they did the exact same angle in
Did they really? I'm sure they
WWF
did.
where they had him submit to the Accolade. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I don't recall it, but I'm sure they did. I wouldn't put it past them.
Maybe save him for, again, as of now, it would be a fantasy thought, a relatively new version of Wyndham Rotundo in AEW. What a great first win that would be to put him on the map.
Would it be,
if he goes to that company. What's that now?
Yeah, I said, would it be a great first win? I guess if you beat up a guy like the Big Show, it's a good win. But
multi-time world champion, a guy that hasn't, you'd think in logic, would only have been exposed in one match as of this point. Yeah, why not?
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea, but who knows that Mr. Rotundo's even going to show up over here. We'll have to wait and see.
His no compete ends right around Halloween, and I believe they
do have something going on that weekend, don't they?
Not that weekend. I think it's the second Saturday in November. They have their pay-per-view Full Gear, so maybe in some way, shape, or form, we'll see that man. As I think I noted on this show or one of the shows, I wish there was a bigger roster in AEW where they could bring in all three of them, Wyatt, Rowan, and Strowman, to do some damage. But like I also said, could you imagine them humming around the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega? It would look like the high school bully going into an elementary school. Yeah,
it definitely doesn't make for an even matchup.
Yeah.
Maybe skill set wise, yes, but at first glance, no. And it's it would make me scratch my head as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens around Halloween.
All right, so then after that match, we got Jon Moxley against Kojima. Again, I'm a big fan of Jon Moxley, but I don't understand why they keep bringing in these Japanese guys. Maybe they just don't have anything for Moxley right now, and they're just trying to keep him relevant. I don't know.
I think that one will be a W for Mr. Moxley.
Yeah, I would hope so. I think it's I don't know. Does he still have dates pending with New Japan Pro Wrestling? Is that why they keep putting him against these New Japan guys, just to kind of keep him relevant within that company?
I know he wanted to continue to work there. I just, off the top of my head, I'm so tired. I don't remember if he's still the champion over there or not.
No,
I don't remember which championship even was he had.
He was the, I guess, the Intercontinental one?
Yep, okay.
But he just lost that to, what's his name, at that one show that they had, Brian, no. The guy that's Jake the Snake's guy. What's his name?
Oh, Lance Hoyt.
Lance Hoyt. Yeah. So, or Lance Archer, right? Is that
I'm
his name?
sorry, Lance Archer. That's right.
Yeah. So he's the new champion for those guys. He lost to him in some kind of gimmick match.
I think maybe it's a way then to try and rebuild the Jon Moxley brand then if he's coming fresh off of a loss.
Yeah, and it's actually a couple losses because he lost the AEW championship. Now he lost that championship, so he needs to get a couple wins under his belt.
Big W on the PPV.
Yeah. Hey, he had a big W last night. I think he won the Game Changer Wrestling Championship from my buddy Matt Cardona over there in Chicago last night.
Believe it or not, I didn't watch that one, but I think I saw a Twitter headline for it.
Yeah, that's where I saw it too.
If it makes him happy and AEW wants to let him do it, good for him.
Hey, listen.
He's changing the game.
But here's the thing. I that's what I like about AEW is that it gives these guys chances to make more money outside of AEW.
Yeah.
GCW isn't going to be taking over anything, and if it's going to get Moxley an extra $2,500, to come in and do a quick spot with Cardona, then hey, all the power to him, and I'm glad Tony Khan's allowed him to do it.
Yeah, you know what? They don't work enough with. These are guys, certainly not Moxley, but there's a lot of guys they have under contract that need the work more than 1 or 2, 3 or 4 minute TV matches a week.
Yeah, maybe we can get some of the Dark Order over there. Yeah, maybe we can get some of the Dark Order over there.
I'll bite my tongue.
GCW after dark, maybe.
Yeah, they can have their matches under the ring.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Darby Allin against the returning CM Punk. That should be an interesting match. It would be good to see Punk back in the ring, and hopefully he's doesn't have too much ring rust to where he puts on a pretty good show.
Well, where he competed in more legitimate athletics in MMA, I think he knows how to go about getting himself into the right physical condition to present himself in the right way and be able to move and do things the right way, where he dabbled in MMA and UFC for a little while. Maybe I'm in the minority, but not a match I'm really overwhelmed with either way. I think Darby Allin would be great in a cruiserweight division, but to try and put him in there with the big guys, to me, it's unrealistic.
Yeah, it looks a little
mismatched.
Visual
Presentation.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely looks mixed match, like we were just saying with Paul White, and putting him against these other guys, or even the Eric Rowans of the world against some of these guys, just standing up against each other. Doesn't look very good on paper. But you know what? Am I looking forward to the match? I think I'm looking forward more to seeing CM Punk back in the ring, and like I said, seeing what he can do, and if he's going to live up to the hype. I'm hoping that he does, so that way
it's strange. You'd think that they would give him someone to work with that could give him a nice, clean, decisive victory, but is maybe, although I might not be the world's biggest fan, I think they've done a really good job in pushing him to the point where he's over with the fans the way he is over the past. Well, I think he's been around since the inception of AEW, so pretty much since day one. So hopefully it's done in a way where it doesn't kill him, doing a clean job. But I mean, obviously, you gotta, with the money that they're paying Punk, you've got to,
you gotta put Punk over. You have to.
Punk's big night.
Well, here's the thing. I do think that I can't remember the guys that Darby Allin and Sting have been feuding with as far as a tag team go.
Everybody.
Literally
everybody.
Has it been?
Who have they not?
I don't know. I'm trying to think back to this past, I think it was Friday, where, Punk actually, or maybe it was Wednesday, where he actually got involved and hit somebody with the GTS. I could see those guys getting involved somehow, just so it makes it look like Punk didn't beat Darby clean. But at the same time, I think Punk needs the clean win. I don't know.
He needs a clean win. You
I
know
think
what?
so too.
You can't throw him in a schmaz already. Are you talking about the team that was in NXT?
They were in NXT,
Everrise?
I think. Yes.
Or
Overrise?
Yes, I don't even know why they signed them. I saw zero appeal in NXT when we used to do our NXT review shows, and I was very surprised to see them turn in on Impact, other than the fact that, they're more of a tag team centric organization. Maybe they were just looking for a new tag team to put some bodies over. I don't know, but they're not my cup
I think
of
that's
tea.
what it was. No, I agree with you. I think that's just what it was that they needed bodies. They had to sign some people. They're already in, I guess, an established tag team, if that's what you want to call them. And they're an actual team, so they're more tag team focused as opposed to just putting guys together.
Yeah, you got the Colognes out there though. They were pretty good.
What's funny is have they done anything since they've left WWE?
No.
Yeah, right. It's crazy.
Well, Puerto Rico, but
that's different. I mean, I don't know if they're living down there or not, but
you got
that's their dad and uncle.
Breezango's got to be coming up on their 90 days soon. I mean, that would be
he's up already, isn't he, or no?
No, I was
didn't a bunch of those guys just come up?
It was one of the only 2 days I've had off since I got back from WrestleMania, which was 71 days, and now I'm on 72 days. So that's 143 under 145. I've been in this fine facility. But I know it happened on one of those 2 days because we were at the pool because one of the guys that used to work with us got released the same day. So, no, I'm actually wrong. They must have... probably towards the end of September. But, I mean, I would look at Breezango as a team to bring in. I always thought that Tyler Breeze was fantastic as a singles NXT heel, not so much his WWE presentation. But, again, if they're looking for tag teams that aren't going to break the bank, that could give you solid work, why not take a look at them?
Why not? Yeah, I agree. I mean, I liked them together. They were sometimes got a little too goofy for my liking.
I hated the comedy aspect of it.
Yeah, but they can work, like you said. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I liked Tyler Breeze as a singles more than I did as a tag team.
Much more. Yeah,
he was doomed to failure the minute they brought him up to the main roster.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, moving on. We got Chris Jericho against MJF, and Jericho loses. He's never going to wrestle again. So obviously we know Jericho's going to win this one. I think it shouldn't be that way. I think you should put MJF over. Can always circle back around, but if they're always going to live up to their stipulations, then it wouldn't happen. So I guess we're going to have to give Jericho the Duke on this one.
You know what? At least this stipulation, out of many of the ones they've had that I've knocked, somewhat makes sense. He wanted revenge that bad.
Yeah.
Towards MJF, that he was willing to do everything, anything to get his hands on him, including putting his career on the line. Like I've noted before, in the first round of some meaningless tournament, Dustin Rhodes put his career on the line, and for some unknown reason that no official would request it or enforce, Cody Rhodes put the stipulation out there: if I never win this match again that's already been signed to happen, I'm never going to wrestle again for the World Championship. And those are the types of things I can't stand. Or when Kazarian is, what is he, a bounty hunter or whatever he is now.
Yeah.
And Christopher Daniels, if we never win again, or the next time we lose, we're going to break up. Obviously, they were going to lose at some point unless they were going to be in for some kind of a historic tag team title run that I certainly couldn't see on the docket. So those are the types of things that make me cringe, but this actually has a little bit of intrigue to it. Would Jericho be willing to put the young guy over? If he's not quite at the big 5-0, he's about to hit the big 5-0, and while he may not wrestle like it, he might not move like it, I bet he feels it. And, he's always been one that's been willing to put guys over, as we just mentioned Fandango a few minutes ago. And Fandango's debut back at WrestleMania 29 down in your neck of the woods, down in New Jersey.
In New Jersey.
So could we see the end of the Chris Jericho era? I think it would be an error, so to speak, to do so. But, stranger things have happened in wrestling. I know Jericho has been doing more commentary now every week on that overproduced commentary team on AEW Rampage, where they try and squeeze about 8 guys in 1 hour's worth of programming. But that's a different story for a different time. But, I certainly hope that Jericho would go out to much more fanfare than this. Again, one man's opinion. I think it will be a Jericho night, but certainly would not be shocked if they went the route of trying to push the young guy. The amount of heat that would be on MJF as a result of it would be tremendous.
Yeah, and I think that's just what they need. I think MJF needs that heat because I don't know. I think if he doesn't win, it tends to have him lose a little bit of steam because what's next for him? Jericho. Listen, I hope that he wrestles again. I think that there's a lot of value in having him. But with a lot of these guys they're bringing in, say CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, if they bring in Bray Wyatt or anybody else like that, I don't want to say that Chris Jericho is not needed, but in a sense he can take that back seat. He's done his job of helping get AEW on the map. That's why he was originally signed, because they needed that star power. But they're starting to build that star power, and I think for the future, MJF is the future. So I would love to see MJF come off with a win tonight.
Funny enough, I disagree just a little bit. I think all of these new signees are part of the reason why you keep Jericho around. I think, having him do jobs in moderation to an Andrade, to a Malachi Black, to a Punk, to a Daniel Bryan, to a potential Bray Wyatt. I think those are reasons why you want him around. I don't think you build the company around him. I don't think you make him the world champion. But I think you bring him out in that desperado type role that they've kind of been maybe should be using for Sting, and instead of having Sting just kind of to walk around as China for Darby Allin.
Yeah.
Again, one man's opinion. We'll see. Yeah. That's why they have the shows.
Hey, if I was Jericho, I would make a deal with Tony Khan and with Vince McMahon, and I would say, hey, I'm going to lose, and I'm going to go work for Vince for 1 year, and then show up on Vince's TV on Monday.
That'd be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, we just saw him on the Broken Skull sessions on the WWE Network. Why not show up on Raw? I think it would be awesome. Tremendous, but that would never happen, so I guess it's just fantasy booking at that point in time.
Hey, you never know when his contract's up, I guess.
I know, we don't, but anyway, moving on. Next, we got Miro versus Eddie Kingston for the TNT Championship. I'm sorry, but I'm a huge fan of Miro.
Match.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Miro, but Eddie Kingston, you know what? I just to me, he just doesn't look the part. He just looks too sloppy for me.
3 minutes, Miro over clean.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's got to be the way to go with that one. And then you got the Young Bucks against the Lucha Brothers in a steel cage match. I didn't know it was a steel cage match, but I guess it is now for the tag team championship.
I think the cage takes away from it.
I do too. But at the same time, you know how these guys are. They're going to do a lot of wacky, stupid flip, flop, and fly stuff out either from the top of the cage to the floor or to the ring or whatever they're going to do. It's definitely going to be a spectacle. Is it going to be a 5-star match? I'm sure Dave Meltzer will give it to them, but I don't know if it will be. But I think the Young Bucks need to come out on top on this one.
Yeah, I guess I agree with that.
They just haven't pushed the Lucha Brothers enough to have them come out in the win. And it would definitely be a shocker, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Visually seeing the Young Bucks as these heels is just I don't get it, I guess.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. But I mean, who else are they going to work with? You know what I mean?
No.
Jurassic Express again. Anyway, then you got the Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander AEW Women's Championship match.
That's the
again.
alien, right?
Yeah, I don't know who's Chris Statlander. I can't remember who she is.
The alien.
Is it?
She's with
perhaps
with the Orange Cassidy and Best Friends and all them.
Okay, could be.
Please.
Yeah, I fan of Britt Baker.
Baker's very good.
Yes, I'm a fan of hers, but it's just they just don't have that star power for the women.
No,
unfortunately,
I'm really not interested in seeing a professional wrestling alien. But
no, at all.
Maybe that's just me.
Are you? But
I was pushing for the cleaning women earlier, so everybody has different tastes.
But can we maybe if the cleaning women show up and win the battle royal, it'll be cleaning women against a dentist at that point in time, and we're bringing back the mid '90s where we had all the gimmicks.
Isaac Yankem,
yeah. Anyway, and then last but not least, you have Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage for the AEW Championship, and obviously, I think Kenny's going to go over on that one. I don't think we're going to
see much of a surprise in that one, but that's just one man's opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think Christian got his win. He's got the Impact Championship. He's helping that company out a little bit. I don't think you need to put the belt on him.
No,
right now.
Definitely not. I think that's a very wise suggestion. I think it was a good move to generate interest in the first match in history on that Rampage show. To do the title switch, which you had to smarten me up on because I didn't actually see the show.
You thought it was for both, yeah.
I thought Christian was the AEW champion, and wow, I really was surprised by that one. But no, just to have him go over even on the Impact title, I think it got people buzzing, got people talking. I think that was a pretty cool call. Then that way, Omega still remained the guy in AEW while still showing a little bit of ass, and that he potentially could lose to Christian in the big one on pay-per-view. I just can't see, and I think Christian's great. I'd love to use Christian myself here in what we do in Boston Wrestling, MWF, but if I'm Tony Khan and AEW, am I going to make Christian my guy? No.
No, and I agree. He's perfect for what he's doing. Keep him at that level. Help him, elevate other guys to the next level, and keep him more as that player coach because that's what you need.
Unless Daniel Bryan is going to make his long-awaited debut tonight, I wouldn't even put that on last.
So here's the thing: if Daniel Bryan does make his debut, where do you put him in the show, and what do you have him doing?
I would imagine you'd likely, coming off of the main event of WrestleMania, what was it this year, 37 down in Tampa, I think they'd want to incorporate him in there with Omega somewhere. Or at least I know I would. If I was Tony Khan, I'd want to take the guy that was in WrestleMania 37 and build up, work an angle with my top guy and have him lose to my top guy.
Yeah. But then at that point, do you need to put Daniel Bryan over?
No, I wouldn't.
No. So you keep Omega. So he comes out after that match. They have a face-off down the road. They, maybe next pay-per-view they have a match, and then his first match in the company, he loses to Kenny Omega.
I'm not. Yes, it's Full Gear in November. I'm not sure what AEW considers its marquee pay-per-view to be.
I think it's All Out. No.
Oh, it's this one.
Yeah.
Well. Maybe a year from now, we'll be talking about Omega after a very lengthy run defending the championship for the first time against CM Punk. And that'll be Punk's big night in Chicago because I believe All Out is a kind of a Chicago tradition for them.
Yeah, because I think that before AEW was around, they did All In, right? And they did that from Chicago.
When it was just kind of a show that was just a show. Yeah,
so then, that was, I guess, to prove Dave Meltzer wrong or whatever. About selling 10,000 tickets, but neither here nor there. I don't disagree with that. I think that's a great idea, and I love the fact that if Omega carries the belt for that long, I mean, geez, I love that. That's such old school. Makes the championship mean something. I just wish Omega would be a little less goofy.
Yes,
but I guess that's just him.
Well, all right. Other than Daniel Bryan, any other interesting expectations from tonight's show? Any other potential surprises you may see?
I think you're going to see, if Andrade makes some kind of anything within the show, I think you're going to see Ric Flair as well. Because I know Ric Flair's in town.
If his contract is up, that would be pretty cool. I think Ric Flair adds a lot to the... Certainly, hopefully, we never see him in a match again, but certainly the ambassador or presentation of TV, to have him back on Turner, I think would be a great move for the company.
Yeah, I mean, they just brought him in to do that NWA thing. I know he was down in AAA where it was Omega and Andrade, and he accompanied Andrade to the ring. So I think if you see Andrade somewhere tonight, you're going to see Ric Flair shortly thereafter.
All right, wrestling fans, we are running out of time on this program. Likely, as long as we don't have any technical glitches, this should be leading right into our live AEW All Out watch along. So hopefully you stay for the live party, watch the show for us on a second screen, or if you're not watching the pay-per-view at all, just hang out with us and talk a little bit of wrestling. We should be having fun. I have no idea who's showing up for guests tonight, which makes it all the more interesting. But for my partner in crime, Tiger Mulligan, we're going to have to figure out when we're going to tape next week's program, because I don't think I'm going to be able to do it in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah. So
I might have to be looking at maybe Friday.
All right, well, hit me up this week, and we'll
figure it out. We always do.
Yeah.
All right, wrestling fans, for Tiger Mulligan, I'm Dan Marty. Again, stand by, top of the hour, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's the All Out pay-per-view watch-along. Until then, be well. Good night from Boston.
bro.
Thank you for joining us. Please give the video a big thumbs up, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel to enjoy more great content. Don't forget, you can help keep wrestling legends working. Check out our eBay store and join the Boston Wrestling family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling so we can produce more in-depth shoot interviews.